Welcome to Turning Back the Pages, the podcast where children's book authors discuss their favorite childhood books. I'm your host, Allie. Today, author Paola Santos is joining me to discuss her favorite childhood stories, Fairy Tales by Hans Christian Andersen. Paola Santos is a children's book author born and raised in Venezuela. After moving to Canada, she found the courage to share the words and stories that had long been enclosed in her imagination. Her stories are now woven with her culture, experience in a new country, hope, happiness, and diversity. Paola holds a bachelor's and a master's degree in literature and children's literature and reading promotion. She is the author of How to Eat a Mango, which was published last month, and the forthcoming picture book, A House in My Barrio, in 2026. So welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Well, I have, as always, challenged Paola and myself to recap fairy tales. Now, today is going to be a little different because the fairy tales are so short. She has picked 4, and so which you are going to be recapping The Little Mermaid and
Yes.
The Emperor's New Clothes, and I will be recapping Wild Swans and the Nightingale. So, Paula.
That's going to be interesting.
Yes, we have a minute for each of these, and I struggled. I usually go off the cuff with these recaps, and I was like, I'm gonna write some points down so I can remember everything.
I have to write it down.
Yes. Same. I'm gonna give you the minute. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. The Emperor's New Clothes tells the story of a vain emperor tricked by 2 swindlers. They offer to wave a cloth that will be invisible to those unfit for their pose or fool. Everyone, including the emperor, pretends to see the cloth. They prepare a parade, and he shows off his new clothes until a child finally reveals the truth. The emperor is wearing nothing at all. And The Little Mermaid is about a mermaid who falls in love with a human prince. She gives up her voice to the sea witch for human legs and a chance to have an immortal soul. When the prince marries another, she chooses love over vengeance, and the mermaid sacrifices herself. She dissolves into foam and transforms into a spirit of the air with the possibility of gaining an immortal soul.
Perfect. Literally.
That was good.
That was very good. I can go ahead and say that you have won the challenge because I am going to struggle. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Wild Swans is about a widowed king who has 12 children, 11 boys and 1 girl, and they were all very happy. But the king remarries, and she's an evil woman, an evil queen who was not kind to the kids. Though every curse she tries to put on them really does not make things as bad for them as she wants. The boys become swans, and then Elise, the girl, was banished. She's allowed to return to the castle, but the queen tries to curse her, and her curse failed. Elise is able to sew together these stinging nettles, and right before she is sentenced to death, she throws these new clothes on her brothers for them to transform it back into a prince and save her. And then The Nightingale is about, in China, the emperor lived in a beautiful palace. There's a nightingale that sings a song that's so wonderful. Oh, no.
I know.
I knew I was going too long in that first one. Okay, I will finish up The Nightingale just a little bit, so if anyone listening is not familiar. The emperor lives in a palace, a beautiful palace. Outside of the palace, there's a nightingale whose song is so beautiful, everyone would just stop and listen to it. Everyone that traveled there declared the nightingale to be so beautiful. The most beautiful thing about the palace or the gardens or the city, the emperor had never heard of it, so he demanded it be brought to him. The nightingale was found and brought in, but then she had to be caged. The emperor then received a package with an artificial nightingale. He wanted the bird and the artificial bird to sing together. Obviously, the artificial bird only sang one song and again, whereas the real bird sang its own beautiful song.
Mhm.
The real nightingale, no longer appreciated, flew out of the palace while no one was looking. The emperor placed the artificial nightingale at his bedside and banished the real nightingale. The artificial bird sang the emperor to sleep each night. Then 5 years later, the king was on his deathbed. The emperor wished for the artificial nightingale to sing, but it was silent. Then a song erupted from the window, and it was the real nightingale. It had returned, and her song restored the emperor's health and persuaded death to leave him in peace.
Nice, lovely,
Thank you.
lovely.
Much longer than 1 minute. But I
But
really,
they're beautiful, beautiful stories.
yes, I really liked the Nightingale. I liked all of them, but I think the Nightingale might have been my favorite. Of course, I was more familiar with the Emperor's Clothing. That one I remember from childhood
Yes.
the best. All right, well, I have a little bit of background information about Hans Christian Andersen. And
Mhm.
if you are up for it, I have a few quiz questions along the way.
Sure.
Okay, great. Hans Christian Andersen was born in April of 1805 in Denmark, and he was an author, playwright, and poet. And do you know how many siblings he had?
I have no idea.
Trick question. He was an only child. And the only reason I bring that up is I'm an only child. So,
Oh, I see. Oh, and he had a terrible childhood. Poor thing.
yes, he did. There's a common thought that Anderson placed his characters in desperate and hopeless situations to reflect his own personal traumas, which included being raised in poverty.
Yes.
He lost his father at age 11. And then, right after he lost his father, he had to work briefly in a factory to support his mother.
Yes.
At school, he was often teased for his looks. So stories like The Ugly Duckling, Anderson
Mhm.
referred to about his own life.
Yes.
He had a lot of phobias. He was afraid of dogs, and he kept a long rope in his luggage while traveling. Do you know why he kept a long rope in his luggage?
Oh my goodness. Those are good questions. You have all this information. I don't know a lot about Anderson.
Google.
I
um,
have no idea.
he kept a long rope with him at all times just in case he ever needed to escape a fire.
Oh, holy cow. Okay.
That seems like a lot of work. He even feared he would be accidentally declared dead and buried alive. So before bed each night, he propped up a note that read, "I only appear to be dead."
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Andersen died in 1875 and was buried in a family plot in Copenhagen Cemetery. His grave was marked with his birth and death dates and a stanza from one of his poems that reads, "The soul which in God's own image is made, eternal is, can never fade. Eternity's seed in our life doth lie. The body may fail, the soul cannot die." The author's birthday is now recognized by, do you know what international celebration?
Mm. Oh man, I had that information in my mind at some point, but I don't remember anymore.
It
I
is
failed.
it
I
is it is now International Children's Book Day.
exactly. Yes, that is true. I knew it.
You knew that
Yes,
one.
I wasn't sure, but yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh
Well,
my God, I failed big time. So
it's okay. Those were very strange questions.
no,
So
but I love your questions. I know now a few things that I didn't know before.
there you go. Well, one day when you're on Jeopardy, that will
There
help.
you go. Yes.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, I want to know why you chose these fairy tales.
Well, I love fairy tales. I think that you know that. And from the beginning, I think they capture my imagination.
Mm-hmm.
I know I have read a lot of fairy tale, well, writers. not writers per se.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Perrault or the Brothers Grimm, they put together the collection of
Mm-hmm.
stories, and I think Andersen, I really liked him because he actually wrote these fairy tales, of course, with the influence of other writers.
Right.
And but I love the humanity in his stories. I believe for me, I feel this kind of humanity lacks in the other fairy tales. I can
Yeah.
feel what the characters are feeling, and I really like that. I think it's beautiful.
I really,
And
yeah, I really like the it's hard to say that I don't like happy endings because of course I do, but the authenticity that life is not just always happy is very, it's just real to read.
yes, yes, yes. And I know fairy tales, other fairy tales like I don't know Hansel and Gretel and Cinderella and all
Mhm.
those stories. They have a lot of tragic as
Mhm.
well. Sometimes they're
Mhm.
kind of
Mhm.
terrifying,
Yeah.
the ogre, that kind of characters. But with Andersen, it's kind of different. If you have read I think it's called the Match Girl,
Mhm.
and well, for the Little Mermaid, all that pain, all that suffering as well. It relates, even though the characters are on the water in the palace. You kind of really feel all those struggles they carry. It's it's amazing. He was a genius.
Yes. Yes. His stories are very interesting. Will you tell me about your memories of the first time you read these stories?
Well, I know my mom read to me, but for
Mhm.
some reason I remember it's my sister reading to me.
Hmm.
And one of the things that she read to me was fairy tales.
Mhm.
So I think it's that memory and the feeling of that moment. I really felt close to her,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I kind of put together fairy tales with that emotion
Oh, I
as
like
well.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's and well, in Venezuela we don't we don't have a lot of picture books
Mhm.
per se. We have some, but it's not like here that you have the libraries with
Right.
tons of picture books. We don't
Mhm.
have public libraries
Oh, okay.
there. So one of the things that you usually find, they are so universal that they're everywhere. Fairy tales are everywhere.
Interesting.
Yeah, I I really like how different they were
Mhm.
from the environment I grew up.
Mhm.
It, Venezuela is a tropical country.
Mhm. Mhm.
You don't have forests. You don't have those beautiful cities.
Mhm.
It's something different, completely different.
Right.
And so I spent a lot of my childhood just imagining, listening to the descriptions of Andersen's descriptions. They are amazing. And just trying to put myself into those environments. And
Yeah.
even though now, if every time I visit a forest, I kind of get transported to that fairy tale world.
Uh-huh.
It's I love that feeling.
Yeah, I love that. That's fun. I like that. How has reading these fairy tales through the years changed for you?
I think that definitely has changed because now, as a writer, I kind of stopped a little bit more and try to understand
Mhm.
all the techniques behind the written word. Before I was just having fun, and I have fun
Mhm.
even today, but I try to understand better
Mhm.
how things work. And Well, I studied a few fairy tales during my master's degree. I was working with symbology
Mm-hmm.
and how they were translated into the an image into TV or
Mm-hmm.
cinema,
Mm-hmm.
and I got fascinated with that.
Yeah.
So every time I see a kind of a fairy tale, I try to overthink everything. So it has changed definitely.
Two questions from that. So, do you in general have a are you able to read a new book without stopping and trying to figure out from a writer perspective, or is it just fairy tales?
I think it's just fairy tales for
Oh,
now.
interesting. Very cool.
I really can enjoy any story,
Mm-hmm.
and but if I want to go back and explore a little bit more, I can do it, of course. But the first time I read something, I'm just enjoying it. But I've read so many times fairy tales, so many times that now I read them to my daughter. I have a 5 year old,
Okay.
and every time I read one of those, I'm thinking, oh my god, the translation of this is horrible. How can they do this?
Yeah.
They removed this character.
Yeah, I did
So
read that a lot, that that is a common critique that the translations don't hold up to Andersen's brilliance of they make it more like cutesy children's stories versus the brilliance that he is
yes,
credited with when in the original language.
oh yes, yes. It is a huge difference.
Yeah.
Huge difference. Yes, I have. Of course, the fairy tales I read to my daughter.
Mhm.
In those cute little books with
Mhm.
that have just 3 pages of a story that maybe it was 10 pages long,
Mhm.
and it's painful. It's painful. If you could see, I have a huge collection of just Andersen's fairy
Mhm.
tales and short stories, and they are as faithful as possible from the original.
Mhm.
So I love to read the descriptions. They are so beautiful, and they get lost
Mhm.
in the translations, and of course, not just in books, but also in movies.
Yeah.
But well, you know,
Do you
it is
have
what
do you have a favorite adaptation like in movies of his fairy tales?
I don't know. Have you seen Fairy Tale Theater from Shelley Duvall?
I don't think so.
Well, it was a series of fairy tales that I think they were like on the end of the 80s, I
Okay.
think, and they are very faithful to the originals. And she has maybe 15 chapters, 15 or 20,
Okay.
and there is not just Andersen's, it's a lot of fairy tales from around the world, and they're beautiful.
I
I love those.
I
Uh,
am looking at it. The series originally ran on Showtime from September of 82 until November of 87. So
yes,
25 there are 27 episodes.
27,
Yeah.
and they're amazing. You can find them all right now on YouTube.
Okay. I
All
will
of
link to
them.
these
And I
in
love
the
them. I love them.
I will
Some
link to
of
these in
them
the show notes.
are pretty funny and kind of, because usually fairy tales they don't have a lot of dialogue.
Mhm.
So they have to fill in the blanks, and
Mhm.
it's okay. They're fine. But some of them are very well done. And from another thing, another adaptations, I don't recall. No.
So I'm gonna
From
take it that you're not a Disney Little Mermaid. What do you
you know,
feel?
I respect the word because at least they are bringing the story to these generations.
Mm-hmm.
I like
Yeah.
that. Before I really hate them, but
Uh-huh.
now I'm appreciating them.
There you go.
So
I like that
yeah,
perspective.
I think they're nice, they're beautiful. I enjoy them. But as I said, sometimes I think, oh my God, what are you doing here? So, and you know, the Little Mermaid is completely different at the end.
Oh yeah.
She kind of not completely dies, but she dissolves into the ocean, and then her spirit kind of goes up into the air, and she finds the possibility of gaining her immortal soul. So it's completely different.
It's very different. I am because the Disney Little Mermaid is my first that was my first impression of the Little Mermaid. Every time I read Andersen's Little Mermaid, I'm like, "Oh, wait, what?" I know it's
Yeah.
different, but that is vastly different.
Yes, I know what you mean. And I was trying to read to refresh the story in my mind, and I was reading out loud for my daughter, and I could see her face saying, "What are you reading?" She just went away.
Like, not sure you read the right one there. That's funny. Turning Back the Pages is sponsored by bookshop.org. Okay, no, not really, but let's talk about bookshop.org. Bookshop.org works to connect readers with independent booksellers all over the world. Every purchase on the site financially supports independent bookstores. I've chosen my local independent bookstore, Thank You Books, for when I purchase a book from bookshop.org. And Turning Back the Pages has its own shop. All the books discussed on the show can be found on the show list at the store. To find out more, you can click on the link in the show notes. Or, if you wanted to do it the hard way, Google bookshop.org and search for Turning Back the Pages under the shop search on the website. Happy shopping, happy reading. As a child, when you were reading these, what themes stood out to you, and why do you think these stood out to you?
You know, I don't think it was the specific themes, it was the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like the descriptions, as I said before. I could just go into the descriptions of a forest, of the bottom of the sea, the palace of the king, and I will kind of stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what draws me to these stories, definitely. Yeah.
What themes stand out to you today?
I haven't changed.
I
It's still the same.
like that. So what feelings do you have? Is it just a warm feeling, or is it a feeling of adventure, or like what feelings are you attaching with these stories?
I will tell you, it's the feeling of wonder.
Mm-hmm. Mm. I
It
like
is
that.
that I just feel amazed, transported. It's just a oh moment
Mm.
reading those descriptions. Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that. I like that. Of these four, which one is your favorite, or who is your favorite character?
It is hard to say a specific character because I think they have each one of them a specific moments I like,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's why I kind of choose these four. For the Emperor's New Clothes, I think it's super funny.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
I love how they treat the Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing. And for the Nightingale, I love the Nightingale itself. The
Me too.
kind of the symbol of nature, of the beauty, and how we kind of appreciate we should appreciate nature over, you know, the things that surround us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that's a feeling, baby.
Mm-hmm.
From the Little Mermaid, the that pain that she goes through,
Mm-hmm.
how she felt, and the wild swans. It's the image of the brothers just changing form
Mm-hmm.
from night to day. So it's not something specific. It's just specific points of each story that
Yeah.
I love.
Well,
And
that makes sense too, since the what what stands out to you is the feelings that it's certain points of the story that just probably make you feel more wonder at those parts. I
yeah,
love the Nightingale. I think that of the four, that was probably my favorite of the stories, and I love the Nightingale herself and just her. I like that she comes back and does sing, but is just unwilling to be captured.
absolutely,
Like her freedom is
absolutely.
so important to her song. I just really liked
Yes.
that.
And
Um,
how it helps to free the emperor's
yes,
soul at the end,
yes,
to free him from death.
yes.
Yeah.
I also like the image of like death, um, like sitting on him, and then death was off of him. I something about
Yes,
that. I really liked that
that is
imagery.
a very powerful image.
Hmm.
Yes, yes. You will love the adaptation of that Shelley Duvall's fairy tale theater. That specific one is really well done.
Oh, interesting. That when I was looking it up just a minute ago, that was one of the ones they mentioned as an example, and so that I need to. I will link to that in the show notes for anyone who wants to go see it. But I will be watching those. I'm interested in seeing them now. So, were you an avid reader as a child?
Yes, I was. I was, and but as I mentioned, we don't have a
Right.
lot of picture books, so I kind of went from stories,
Mm-hmm.
uh, encyclopedias, sometimes fairy tale stories, to middle grade
Mm-hmm.
and beyond. I think I was 10 and I was already reading kind of adult novels.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you have heard about 100 Years of Solitude
No, I have not.
from Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
I
Oh,
did not
wow.
know that
You
one.
have to read that one.
I'm
I
gonna long
couldn't
list of
add
things
that
to
as
read.
a favorite book because it's an adult novel, but
Hmm.
if I would have chosen that one.
Well, I have to look into that. Would first of all, would little Paola be surprised that you wrote a book?
Oh, definitely. She
Really?
kind of, oh, yes, yes. Yeah, because we don't have that experience with authors, the school visits. So
Oh
you kind
yeah.
of know about books and authors, but you never kind of put together two and two that you could be doing that.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that then. I love that you've done
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
Okay, so
yes. Me too.
tell me about your book, the one that has just come out.
Yes, How to Eat a Mango. It was published simultaneously in Spanish as Cómo se come un mango.
Yes.
It is illustrated by Juliana Perdomo, and it is published by New Porter Books, Holiday House. And it is the story of Carmencita. She's a young girl that she doesn't like eating mangoes, and her abuelita helps her to understand that mangoes are more than a fruit.
Hmm.
And they go through a sensory journey through all the five senses. She says, okay, listen to the wind talking through the branches, and listen to the roots stirring underground, and smell and feel the mango and taste it at the end.
Hmm.
So she kind of learns to appreciate the nature, family, and culture. Yes.
I really, really love the imagery of food and culture and it being a whole experience. I love that. Tell me, why did you write this book?
Well, I read the book because it's very close to my heart, to my
Mm-hmm.
own experience. It's based on my own story with my abuelita, my grandma.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like eating mangoes when I was a child
Uh-huh.
at all, because she always made me to clean up the mangoes that smash onto the ground and rot, and the smell was so strong and rancid that it was very hard for me.
Oh, okay.
But my abuelita loved mangoes, and she always sat in front of me eating and humming with delight every time she ate one. So I always thought, I wish I liked mangoes, but I didn't. And I've learned to appreciate them now
Uh-huh.
while writing this book, and now I like them. So can
Oh,
do
good.
that.
Good.
Yes,
I love that. Who do you hope reads this book?
I think this book is for all ages, not just kids.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that a person that appreciates nature,
Mm-hmm.
Mama Earth, and family are the perfect readers for this book.
Great.
Yes.
And what do you hope they take away from the book?
I hope they can tell themselves to slow down,
Oh, yeah.
to look around and to listen to nature and their own lives, and to appreciate their present, their past, and to know that that life has so many gifts to give.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I hope they get that, to
Good.
slow down and appreciate nature and love them and love nature.
All right. Will you share where people can follow you, buy your book, and anything else you would like to promote?
Oh well, they can visit my website, paolasantos.com, PaolaSantos, and well, they can find there my Instagram and Twitter accounts as well, Facebook too, and well, whenever books are sold, they can find how to eat a mango and cómo se come un mango as well.
Well,
Yes.
fantastic. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Turning Back the Pages. If you have any author suggestions, please feel free to email me at whatallywrites@gmail.com. You can follow the show on Instagram or Twitter at whatallywrites. Allie is ALLY. And don't forget to subscribe.